Hello everyone, it is Suki, and today we're going to be talking about the changes to healers coming out of the Shadowbringers North America media tour that happened quite a while ago. You might be thinking, why are you covering this now instead of like when it first came out? And the reason for that is because I am lazy, and also I was really busy kind of figuring out the whole streaming thing, which has been a lot of fun. But there's still some people who are kind of asking me questions about this during the streams, and had a person in particular comment asking for this video to be made, and I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna get up and just make this video while I have some time today. So that's what we're doing. We're only gonna be talking about the 3 healer changes. If we talked about every single job, this video would be like 5 hours long. I'm not even joking. I tried to make a video when this first came out on all of the jobs, and I got through White Mage and Scholar, and it was like 50 minutes long. So expect this to be still a very lengthy video, even though we're only talking about the 3 healers. But without further ado, let's just kind of jump into this, bearing in mind that there's probably a good chance that some of these will be changing when we get to early access. So just kind of bear that in mind, that this was a build that they made back in April, I believe. So there's a good chance that with some of the feedback they got whilst kind of giving this to the people who went to the media tour, and from the community as well, once they lifted the embargo, that they're going to be tweaking a lot of this stuff for all the jobs and not just healers. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go along. So we're going to start off with White Mage first, because I feel like White Mage is kind of the easiest to touch up on, because White Mage kind of is very similar to how it is in Stormblood. But yeah, I feel like despite like losing DPS capabilities like all the other healers, White Mage has mostly remained the same, just got a bunch of extra stuff added on top of that. Maybe a little bit too much stuff, and trust me, we'll talk about that. So the first thing we're actually going to talk about is probably the role actions, and this will be affecting all healers. So yeah, let's take a look at this first. So there's quite a few omissions here. There's quite a few removals of some major abilities on the healers. Big one, Protect. Protect is finally gone. Thank goodness. I hate Protect. It was very minor damage mitigation. It lasted long enough that you only had to cast it once if nothing went wrong, but if something did go wrong, it was just really annoying, because if somebody died, for instance, you'd have to spend a GCD raising them, and you almost were certainly burning your swift cast, and then as soon as they were up, you'd probably want to cast Protect on them, so you're essentially burning 2 GCDs to get somebody back up into the fight. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Protect. Also, I'm pretty sure we've all been in those situations where you get into the instance for the first time, the barrier goes down, and then you just have that DPS or that tank or just party members who just start dipping forward. They don't wait for Protect, and it's just really annoying. Now that's not a problem anymore, because Protect is gone. It's now normalized. You don't have to worry about it anymore. I actually really like the removal of Protect for that reason. Cleric Stance is gone. I mean, Cleric Stance really didn't need to be in the game when they changed how healer DPS was going into Stormblood, and it really was just a very small damage buff for healers every now and then. Now it's gone. I'm not gonna miss it in particular. It was nice to have, but it's one less thing I have to pay attention and keep on my hotbar now. So I'm actually kind of more happy about the fact that I don't have to keep it on my hotbar than sad that I'm losing that small amount of damage every now and then. So not too sad to see Cleric Stance go. One thing that I am kind of upset to see go is Largesse. Now, Largesse being gone is something that happens because it seems like they're trying to build in the increased healing magic potency into job specific abilities on each of the healers. So I feel like that's what they're trying to do, but at the same time I kind of just don't like that change. I kind of just like the fact that Largesse just having your healing buff be its own thing, because basically what they did was they added healing potency, or the increased healing magic potency, to other abilities that you have, and those already have their own effects without the healing magic potency. And it's like, well, maybe you don't need that extra effect that particular ability will give you as well. You just want the healing magic potency, right? And I kind of like the fact that Largesse would be its own thing, but yeah, I guess they're trying to build that into job specific abilities now, so that's a bit unfortunate. And we lost Break. That's a big one. I know everyone loves to use Break. got to get that heavy on your enemies so that they can't catch up to you. So I'm really sorry to see Break go. I know it's everyone's favorite ability or spell to use as a healer. You know, that 20 potency was just, it was too strong, so I can see why they got rid of it. Um, but yeah, this is what we have left. If I missed some other role action that we also had, then it's probably insignificant and doesn't really change healers that much to begin with. But in terms of what we have, I'd say Rescue, Swiftcast, Asuna are exactly the same. So if you liked using Rescue, then thumbs up. You still get to have it. I, if you hate Rescue because you've been pulled off the edge of primal fights like I have, then you can let out your collective groans all together now on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. God damn it, Rescue. But there's quite a few people who do like using Rescue, and it's helpful for them. So it's here again in Shadowbringers. Hooray! Swiftcast and Asuna are basically exactly the same as they have been before. Repose is exactly the same. The only difference is that instead of being a Conjurer specific spell, it is now available to use for all healers. Sleeping isn't very helpful outside of maybe some solo content, but yeah, now all healers have access to a single target sleep spell if you need it. Surecast and Lucid Dreaming did have some changes though. Surecast, we got an additional second on Surecast's duration, but in turn had its recast quadrupled to 2 minutes. And this is probably in tandem with the change to Arm's Length for Disciples of War, which had its recast doubled to 2 minutes as well from 60 seconds. And yeah, we still get the spells can be cast without interruption, thankfully, on Surecast as well, which is nice. But it's kind of weird that they increased Surecast and Arm's Length recast time to 2 minutes. Because there's a ton, I don't know what it was about Stormblood, but there's a ton of bosses that would just knock back. There's a ton of bosses, ton of abilities that would just knock you back in Stormblood content. I don't know what it was about Stormblood, but they really liked being able to knock people back. So maybe this means that in Shadowbringers content, there's going to be a lot less knockbacks, or they're just saying, screw you, deal with it, and get knocked out of position, deal with it. So one of those two, I guess we'll have to wait and find out when we actually get our hands on Shadowbringers content. And Lucid Dreaming had its recast halved, actually, from 2 minutes down to 1 minute, which is, I want to say it's a pretty good change, but I don't actually know with the changes to Healer MP how impactful this actually is, because going into Shadowbringers, every single job's just going to have 10,000 MP now, which I'm not entirely sure how that factors into how Lucid is going to function. I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be giving you the same amount of MP as it does currently right now. There is a formula that you can use to figure out how much Lucid is going to give you, depending on what level you are. But yeah, again, we're gonna have to wait and see how much this means. Like 80 potency, 80 refresh potency doesn't actually like mean anything. This is, since MP is being normalized, this is like the one time they could say, hey, this is how much Lucid is gonna give you. But no, we're still getting this refresh potency 80. So yeah, I don't know if the formula we have now is still going to be applicable in Shadowbringers to be able to calculate how much this is going to give you, but I'm assuming that Lucid being having half its recast cut down is going to be a positive across the board anyway. So thumbs up for us. And also, this is probably, I think this is actually the only source of MP you're going to have on Astrologians now with the changes to Astrologian cards, and we'll get to the Astrologian cards. Don't worry about that one. I'm not too happy about that. We're gonna jump over to traits real quick. There's really nothing to talk about here. The three major ones are something that we which would be Secret Lily, Heart of Solace, and the Enhanced Asylum are things we can talk about when we actually look at the abilities themselves. So we're just going to jump into spells and abilities on White Mage. Alright. White Mage. Now, like I kind of said already, I feel like White Mage at its core has pretty much remained very similar to how it is right now in Stormblood. With just the fact that it got some of its DPS cut down, but again, that happened to Scholar and Astrologian as well, and also it got a lot more healing stuff, which is honestly too much healing stuff if I'm being honest. But uh, let's give a bit more detail. So looking at single target here, raise exactly the same. Cure and Cure 2 and Benediction and Tetragrammaton are pretty much exactly the same as well, I believe. Same potencies and everything. Still have the 15% chance to proc Cure 2 that doesn't cost any MP, which is nice. Regen and Divine Benison have changed though. Divine Benison, instead of being based on the target's max HP, is now just a 500 potency shield, which that's fine. Still lasts 15 seconds, still has a recast of 30 seconds. So yeah, that's fine. I guess it just means that no matter who you're casting it on, whether you're casting it on your tank or you're casting it on a caster DPS, it's gonna have the same potency shield. So alright, that's fine. Regen actually got an interesting change. Had its cure potency increased. Actually, I believe the potency per tick is 150 right now, but it got increased, 33% increase in cure potency to 200 per tick, but it did lose 3 seconds of duration, so that's one less tick. But overall, it adds up to being a pretty sizable increase of healing throughout its entire duration. So yeah, I mean, kind of an interesting change. I feel like the fact that they're increasing the potency on regen is one of many factors. The other big factors being that there's just a massive amount of healing and increased healing capabilities on all of the healers across the board, that outgoing damage is going to be increased, but we really can't say for sure until we actually get into Shadowbringers. But yeah, this is an interesting change, and it also when we get to talking about Astrologian, it also kind of lines up with how Astrologian's nocturnal aspect event effect is acting as well. But yeah, that's not much really changed there. AoE healing. Alright, so I believe Medica, Cure 3, and Assize have thankfully changed, thankfully stayed the same. Assize, thankfully, still does damage. I was really thinking that they were going to get rid of, or at least nerf, Assize, because Assize is absolutely ridiculous. You still have the 400 potency cure, 400 potency attack with no damage drop off, and still gives you the 10% max MP, which is just 1000 MP every time you use it, and still has the 45-second recast time as well. So Assize is still just as awesome as it is right now. So that's good to see. I'm glad that we still have that to feel good about in terms of DPS as a healer, because we won't have much else to feel good about when we talk about other DPS things. Asylum did get an interesting change here. And there's some interesting wording here that I want to kind of bring some light to. It still has the cure potency, still lasts 24 seconds, so that hasn't changed. The more interesting thing is that at level 78, you'll get a trait for Asylum that adds this effect, which increases HP recovery via healing actions on party members in the designated area. So if you're standing in it, then healing actions will be increased by 10%. Now, this is very interesting wording here, because it says via healing actions. Now, if you go look at largesse right now in game, or any ability basically that increases your healing potency, it will say increases healing magic potency. In fact, if we just scroll down and skip ahead real quick to look at Temperance, it will say right here, increases healing magic potency. And what that means is healing magic potency just means that it increases healing spells. But here, I think because it's purposely worded for healing actions, that it will also increase abilities, which means it will increase how much Asylum's doing, it will increase how much Assize does, Tetragrammaton, and it's not just specific to White Mage either. So like your healing partner, if you have a Scholar, that means their Lustrates, their Indoms, their Excogs, Astrologian